I'm Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy Mysonne, the General.
We are your host of TMI.
Tamika and Mysonne's information, truth, motivation, and inspiration.
New name, new energy, but
same old us.
What's up, Mysonne Linda? How you doing?
I am blessed today, Queen Tamika D. Mallory.
Yes, I'm out here channeling Breonna Taylor today.
Amen.
Feeling my Breonna Taylor spirit.
Breeway.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So what has been going on there? Listen. I was talking to our dear friend, Jennifer Williams, who's Jennifer Williams Gold now. She turned 50 years old.
Come on, Jen.
And I was celebrating with her over the phone. 50 years. It is a blessing to make it to 50 years old. So happy birthday to our dear sister. And she said to me, you know, celebrating a birthday and the country all around us is in shambles. You know, she's like, I am acutely aware of what's happening in this nation. And it's almost like, even though people are trying to go about life as normal, it's really not normal.
No, it's rough. It's rough, man. But 50 is something that you have to celebrate. I'm closely approaching that age.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely want to be able to celebrate that, especially Jen doesn't look nowhere near 50. No. So God is good and black don't crack. So happy birthday to Jen. Yeah, we definitely dealing with a lot, you know, and every now and then we need some type of release. So she's celebrating her birthday. Shout out to Fashion Week this week. You know, we already had our brother Lenny on here and we talked about his fashion.
Actively Black, the athleisure brand.
Athleisure brand. And we talked about his fashion show, which was pretty much like top tier. But I also got a chance to walk in the fashion show this week as well. Shout out to
yes. When the finger, this thing here, I don't know what this means, but I see people doing it when they tap their fingers together.
So yeah, I guess that's whatever that is. That's, you know, that's the Gen Z thing they got going on. I walked in Daniel's Leathers fashion show. Shout out to my brother, Shada, manager, who had me in it. It was a dope event. Seen a lot of my people. Shout out to Mano, LBL, Tut from New Direction was there. Ran into Murder Mook. So many different people. Corey Guns. There was a lot of different people that I ran into. My brother Grab. There's a lot of them. I'm gonna get in trouble with just naming names, but it was a dope event, man. It was like a family reunion of the hip hop artists and those people that I've known for years in this industry were there.
Good, awesome. It's a good thing. You looked very comfortable.
Yeah,
on the way.
I got my little thing now.
Black fur, you know, you looked very comfortable. So
Young Dripness, they call me. You know, well.
You were good. There was a lot of people in that show that did that. You know, Daniel's Leather is like a staple. It's a staple. Anybody who knows of the New York artists who do music videos, everybody could go borrow a jacket or several and get all your part of your outerwear for your wardrobe. You could get it from Daniel's Leather. So that's been for so many years. It's a staple. The show was crazy. There was so many people down there and it was hot nonetheless.
It was definitely hot. And you know what the crazy part is? I wore this black mink that you've seen, but I was supposed to wear this New York leather jacket. So my outfit was for this New York leather jacket. But it still fit when you throw on, you know what I'm saying? Because you gotta know how to swag it out. When you throw on a black mink with the camouflage cargos and the black constructions, it's still gonna work. You know what I'm saying? I'm just showing you the variety, but the green leather that I was supposed, the olive green leather would have just made it. But listen, you know, we do what we gotta do. We know how to improvise. Being from New York, man, fashion is in our blood. So, you know, I did that thing and I made that thing look like it was
you were very comfortable. You were very comfortable.
Very dapper. Dapper. I was very dapper.
There's that. There is that. You know, like you said, we have to. In the midst of everything that's happening, you get a call saying, can you walk in the fashion show? You better, because if we sit in the funk of the realities of what's happening in our nation, I know I would be like, my anxiety is already bad, and I feel it so much every day right now, knowing and just understanding what we will have to do to get this shit straight. This shit show that we knew should not have been allowed. The man should never have been allowed to become president of this country. Never, ever,
Never.
again. And what shouldn't have happened the first time, but definitely not the second time. And so the little things, the little enjoyment, those moments, we have to take them, because every minute there's something happening that's got your nervous system, responding to what you're seeing, what you're hearing. And also, if you are an organizer, as we are, you are responding to the little voice that's in your head saying, don't get comfortable, because we have to fight. We have to fight. So speaking of fighting, the internet has gone up in smoke about Trey Reed. This young man was found hanging from a tree in Delta State University, which is in Cleveland, Mississippi. And people are panicking because this happened just a day or so after all of the Charlie Kirk fallout, if you will, from the murder of Charlie Kirk. And there was so many people who off the bat started targeting Black people, which we didn't even kill Charlie Kirk. No one from our community did it. And quite frankly, as you and I have said, I haven't really necessarily been talking about it much, but you certainly have said nobody should have killed him. Whatever it is that man wanted to say, nobody should have taken his life. That should have been between him and God, period. Right? He should have been drowned out, defunded, and sidelined, where he didn't even matter to the world. And most people he didn't matter to, because guess what? People are like, who? Charlie who? They don't know. I see my family members. That's why I watch Facebook to see where people, just everyday people are. And my family members who are people who just working every day, they're not in the political discourse all the time. Sometimes they don't even feel like voting is even necessary. They are like, who is Charlie Kirk? Okay, so let's sit that right there. So when you have a situation where this man was killed, brutally killed, in front of a lot of people who saw a very horrific shooting take place, including his family, his child, and the child's mother, his wife, you have people on high alert when the response is to start demonizing Black people, and of course to start demonizing people who are considered to be on the left, which the majority of our people are considered to be on the left. So when Trey Reed pops up in a tree, hanging from a tree, automatically people are like, the college campuses had to be shut down from the threats. It must, what do they say? If it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. So folks feel that there is something, there's something wrong here. Not just something wrong, because no matter what happened, it's still terrible. Still terrible.
But you know what I found out? And I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
but
I'm glad to.
He was hung, found hanged, as you say, and there was another young man also found hanged. But prior to that, there have been so many hangings that they just ruled that there was no foul play for the last few years. It's been numerous amount of them. Black people are being found hanged from trees, and they're just ruling them that there's no foul play. And I just don't know, where are people, especially Black people, saying that we just gonna go hang ourselves from trees? And I'm not saying they aren't, some of them aren't, or some of them are, I don't know. But I'm just trying to say that the fact that all of them have been ruled no foul play is just really strange to me.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And in this situation, we don't know, which is why Attorney Ben Crump is calling for and the family is calling for an independent autopsy. They are going to do their investigation. The police and the authorities are very, very confidently saying that it is death by suicide. We will see. We will see what happens. I pray that that young man did not take his own life, that in and of itself is another set of conversations that need to happen about the mental health of what is going on with our young men. At the same time, if he was hanged by somebody else, especially in some type of racial violence and or some type of retaliation for Charlie Kirk, that is something that will send our country spiraling into an even worse space than we currently are in. So no matter which way you look at this situation, the Black community loses. Yes, the Black community loses and our society loses. The reason why the Black community loses is because we, unfortunately, are either dealing with mental health, which is crippling us. We are dealing with violent explosions at times in different places and pockets that can be affiliated with a whole lot of things, from poverty to mental health to just people doing wrong. And then we're dealing with racial violence, political violence. It's a lot. Our communities are definitely under siege. And God bless us, you know, and we can't back down from speaking on all of these things. We can't. We have to be loud and proud, regardless of what the political consequences or any consequence may be. And we have a right to demand that there be more of an investigation, because to your point, if we just allow it to be swept under the rug, it could be you or me tomorrow and nobody will know what happened to us either. So God bless this young brother, Trey Reed. God bless his family. God bless his legal team. And I don't, whatever happened to him, it is very, very, very scary. It's unfortunate. And we are in a crisis as Black people in this country.
Sure. You know, there's just been so much fallout from the assassination of Charlie Kirk. You know, now there's Jimmy Kimmel. You know, he had some words and made some jokes or statements about Trump and what happened to Charlie Kirk and his feelings about it. And now he's being removed from TV, and that's sending the world into uproar, because now the free speech that the right has fought for, supposedly wanted forever, and they said they were being silenced and all of this. Now they are completely, you can't even say a name. You can't even, to me, you can't even put the man's words up there. And it's very strange to me at this point. These was you can't silence us, and we want to be able to say what we have to say, and we want to be able to call people all kinds of things. We want to be able to disrespect George Floyd, and we can put a knee on, and we could do signs with the knee. We could do all of the most disrespectful shit, but you can't say the man's name and the words he said in the same sentence. And it's like, it's really crazy, man. Like, I think we just I think I woke up after really just watching Jimmy Kimmel's show. I really wanted to see what one of the top late night hosts in the world lost his whole job for. You know, like, he lost his whole job. And it wasn't just like the network said, okay, you said something wrong. It was this shit came from the FCC, and then you had Donald Trump praising it. And it's just like, where are we at this point? You know, we watch numerous people lose their jobs for just saying the most minute things. And it's like, I don't know. I really don't know where we're going in America. It's like, I don't do fear mongering and all that, because we gonna, like you said, we got to fight anyway. We do, but we just in some very strange times in uncharted territory. You know,
absolutely, that's it. Because some of our elders, when asked, you know, have we seen this before? Have you lived through this? They're like, no, this is a whole different thing. And part of it is because the majority of the people at the time when they were going through the tyranny of the Bull Connors and all of the oppression and suppression that our people dealt with in the 60s and before that, and even some of it still 70s and 80s and 90s, and here we are, it has continued. But the tyranny of that period in the 60s and the civil rights movement, what I have heard from our elders and from some of, and from the mentors, is that the majority of the people knew there was a fight. People knew there was a fight. They were in the fight. A lot of people were in the fight. People were standing up and speaking out. And that is what made things different. And that brings...
And also, I don't mean to cut your wisdom, but what also made it different was they didn't have rights that were taken away, right? They literally was born into a system where they didn't have certain rights. And it was like, yo, we have to fight for these things, right? So when you used to having certain things and certain liberties and moving a certain way, and you no longer have it, it's a different mind state. You like, damn, what? Because when you watching the old slave movies and the old civil rights movies, you can't imagine. You like, damn, they went through that, and you got tears in your eyes. You're like, damn, they had to actually fight to do simple shit and be recognized as men and women, as Black people. So now when you're watching and you realize that a system and a structure is literally trying to take away those things that you watch those people fight for, and you see it happening in real time, it's a shock.
Yeah.
No, it's really a shock.
Yep. And that brings me to my thought of the day. I was thinking about fascism and authoritarianism and how it shapes, right? How it forms and how it becomes reality. And one of the things that I hear, or that I have read, that I've learned, and that I hear from people who've studied fascism and people who are trying to educate us on where we stand in this time, they talk about the silencing of voices, the suppression of free press, the suppression of free thought, and people's ability to speak truth to power. The ability, the suppression of folks being able to speak on what they see, where they are told what they have to believe and what is okay for them to talk about, and what is okay for them to even feel. Because even if you know that things are wrong, you can be beat into submission by fear that I have to go along with this. And in some cases, I got to join them, right? I know a lot of people who work on jobs or are in environments where they see folks being done wrong. They see the abuse and the discrimination, and sometimes they will join it just so that they can look like they are next to and buddy up with, right? And in alignment with the boss, the human resource director, the manager, or whoever, because they are afraid that standing up for someone who is experiencing discrimination may put them in the limelight and make them a target, and they can lose their opportunities, their jobs, their resources, their ability to take care of their families. That's a real thing. And I've watched people do that. They join the bullies so that they can be in the cool crowd. And so that is what we see happening right now, where people's minds are being shaped through fear. And my thought of the day is around the idea that this is why it is important to support independent thought. It is, and I'm not talking about independent thought nutcases that are feeding you misinformation on YouTube and online and different places. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who have sense enough to know that we're not going to just run outside with a grenade and blow ourselves and everybody around us up. We're not going to do that. That is not a strategy that will work for the next generation of our families, right? It's not a realistic thing. But what we can do is to maintain the voices of people who have independent networks, fan base, the Black Effect Podcast Network, and the list goes on of entities that have been developed for us and by us. Organizations like Until Freedom, organizations like even the NAACP and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund that is out there suing everybody during this time. They cannot do that if they do not also have the support of people who believe in them. The woke votes around this country, Live Free, Pastor Mike McBride. I could go on and on and on with the names of Black folks who are remaining in their independent space, being able to stand up and say, We are going to speak the truth, and we are not going to allow you to muffle or silence our voices. That does not happen if our entire existence is tied to the same corporations that are capitulating to this man right now, right? These people, these corporations like Target are capitulating to bigotry. But you also have on the other side of that a Pastor Jamal Bryant who is in a church that is able to keep him where he can take care of his family, and they do not need the outside interference or to have to take a check from a Target or any other company like that. I remember when Bishop Talbert Swan told the white folks online when they were calling around trying to see where they could get him fired from, and he said, "You can't get me fired from my church because Black folks fund me. So when you call up here to this church, just know that my people back me. They stand with me." We have to make sure that we are donating, supporting, showing up, sharing, doing, subscribing, doing whatever we can to stand with people who have the ability to speak out and stand on their own. Because if we do not support those institutions and those opportunities, those people's platforms, if you will, we will be a people who our history, our voices, our fight, the fight for justice, the fight for freedom, the fight for equity will be erased. We will be sidelined, and their word, the fascism of it all, the authoritarianism of it all, will be the only thing left standing. And so wherever you're sitting, no matter if you say, "Well, I can't get out there with them, I'm not going to protest, I'm too afraid, I'm not available, my life is not set up that way, I got small children, my job won't," whatever your situation is, it is not for us to shame you, but it is for you to figure out, can I send $10? Can I share a thing? Can I subscribe to help make sure that these people are up in the algorithm and that what they are saying is being spread? My thought of the day today is, what are you going to do to make sure that in this moment when a Jimmy Kimmel and a Karen Atia and these different voices are being suppressed, how do you stand up to make sure that the other voices rise, and that a Joyanne Reed, who's no longer on MSNBC, but she's giving you the truth every single day through her own networks, her own platforms, can you and will you support her and stand with her and others who are doing that work?
And that's pretty much what it is. I've been saying that lately. Shout out to Tesla Figaro. She was just on Abby Phillips' show, and she said, she said a lot of people saying, "Yo, I gotta feed my family. I gotta eat. I can't say this. I can't do that." And she said, "Well, you got to find somebody and invest in somebody that's willing to starve." And that's just the reality of the situation. And you have to have people. I keep saying this, like, we are not going to kumbaya way out of this situation. It's going to take sacrifice. Right. People are going to lose. When we talk about the boycott of Target, there are a lot of Black people. They say, "Oh, we had our products in here. We losing money," and we understand, and that's part of it. And unfortunately, you were one of the people that had to sacrifice at that moment. And another thing, I might have to sacrifice my freedom and my well-being. All of these things, all of us have something different that we'll have to sacrifice, but there will have to be a sacrifice. Okay. This moment, because these people have made a decision that they are organized and they are strategically trying to whitewash America and eliminate our voices. And if we are not intentional and willing to fight, then they're going to succeed.
There's still a lot of people that don't even believe what we're saying. And it's unfortunate because, as I keep saying, we're going to wake up and it's going to be too late. But the reality is it's already too late. So for our TMI today, last week, while you were walking the runway, and I had the pleasure of sitting in the host chair alone and talking crap about you, but that's a whole nother thing. I talked about the domestic violence rates and how alarming this is to me. Like, I'm paying attention in the world and I'm saying to myself, is anybody else noticing that domestic violence seems to be up? And it seems to be a whole lot of Black women, especially whose lives are being taken by their partners. And yes. So I talked about that. I talked about how important it is for us to keep bringing this up, to make sure that we center it, because it's not just domestic violence in terms of Black women being killed, which is happening, but then Black women going missing, finding out that the partner killed them, dismembered them. Now, I know this has always been a thing, but I also know the data is showing that the rates are up because many organizations and many cities are focusing now and in their attention on domestic violence because they have so many incidents being reported from the local authorities. So it's not something that I'm just saying. This is something that the data is now backing up to prove that this is an issue. And so I said, we got to put this front and center. And then sure enough, I began to learn more. I can't remember if I talked a little bit about it, but I know I wasn't completely aware of the details of what happened in this situation. This TMI, it's like sometimes we try to make them light, but this is really serious. A woman by the name of Romika Meeks Blackman. She was 31 years old, a mother in Chicago, who was fatally shot in her face after dropping her child off at school. And it is alleged that the child's father's girlfriend is the one that shot her in the face, right? Wow. And killed her. And so the TMI is that if you are that upset with somebody in a relationship and you have issues, the idea that you might show up somewhere with a gun to kill that person, and they say, well, the young lady was the aggressor, it doesn't matter. Imagine that one person is dead, one person is going to spend probably many, many, many years in prison, and a child has lost a parent, and the father is now going to be responsible for whatever happened. It does not matter what happened. The details of the relationship, and we broke up, and he was this or that, none of it matters. That the fallout is a woman lost her life, and another person will lose her life because she took a life. Are we serious? Are we serious? Are we doing too much? Or are there people out here that's actually going to come on here and say, well, that's hey, you might have to do what you got to do, bruh. Y'all bugging.
Yeah, it's never that serious to me. I don't think any relationship should drive you to want to take a life and actually ultimately give up your own life. I think I think you have to learn emotional intelligence. Young people go through those things, and you see a lot of physical altercations as young, but as you get older, you realize that it's never that serious. But I think that's what we have to focus on. When we talk about violence and you saying that domestic violence is up, it's just another form. A lot of people are, when resources are down, when people don't got money and they in the house and they mad and they frustrated, the closest person to you is the person that gets the strike from you. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you see more higher rates of domestic violence than you actually do see violence inside, because a lot of people is too broke to go outside. So they inside the house arguing, frustrated, just like during COVID, the domestic violence things went up. So I believe that it is a symptom of the times that we are in, right? You're going to see, before it's over, unfortunately, I don't want to wish it, but violence and crime is going to get a lot higher in our communities, because you feel the tension. You feel people not having, you feel, people are frustrated. People don't even realize what's going on, but they realize something is happening. I was having conversations with my boy the other day, and he's like, yo, it's just really hard to figure out how to survive these days, man. Like, I'm just day to day, just every day, just trying to survive. And that's a sentiment that I'm hearing from a lot of different people. So, we have to focus on mental health, because that's what we've been doing with Raising Kings and Boycott Black Murder. We've been going in communities and schools and dealing with at-risk youth and teaching them about emotional intelligence, teaching them about violence interruption and alternative to violence, but we have to do it on a bigger scale. I think now we need to go into these at-risk hoods, the main ones right now, and just have some real men of credible messengers and men who've actually been through things and who are respected in their communities, and start really grabbing up these young boys and creating our own army. That's what I said. They told about sending the National Guard into communities. No, we don't need that. We just need the men in the communities to rise up and start raising our boys to be soldiers to protect our own community. So that's what my focus is now, because if we just focus on, oh, they doing this to us and we frustrated and we're not creating solutions and we're not creating our own and building our own, then we've already lost. So I think that's what it is for me. We have to have solutions. We can't just always focus on the problem. A lot of people are problem-based. We've always been solution-based. And I think in this time, galvanizing our own soldiers, our young boys, our young kings, and galvanizing them with the older credible messengers and unifying them and taking the young boys for the battle and the older ones for wisdom and building our own front line.
Absolutely. I think every single word you said is so powerful, it's so true, and I agree 1,000%. I still think that you bugging if you need to be so mad, whatever's going on, that you show up in a neighborhood, a school, or whatever, with a gun, and somehow or another, whether who was the aggressor, but you end up taking the life of a woman over something that got to do with the boyfriend and this and that. No way. These types of things don't necessarily have anything to do with resources. It doesn't have to do with all of the issues you just laid out. It is the emotional intelligence thing that you said the first time, that regardless, because it's okay to look at somebody and say, you a piece of no good trash, and I'm never going to deal with you again in life, but I'm going to save me. I'm going to make sure that I'm good. To get involved in some back and forth that you end up taking someone's life, that is going way too far. So I pray, but I understand your point is that all of this stuff is coming from a place that people are not thinking they're not thinking right. People making bad decisions. I'm just hoping that the trend of shot the baby mother, killed this person, relationship turns into, I saw a video that I sent to you the other day where the guy is trying to push his way into the apartment and the woman is there at the door trying to stop this guy, her ex-boyfriend, from coming into the apartment. And the guy that's inside tells her, move back, and he shoots the man when the door opens. Now, and like shot him, like that he was shot. Now, my thing is, of course, you got to of course you have to defend and protect yourself. And thank God that guy was a good shot because he knew how to shoot specifically through the door. But the woman was still standing right there holding the door. She could have been shot.
Lost her life. Yeah, she could have been shot. Or if that man would have got his hands on her, he might have took her life. Because he was coming through that door like a bat out of hell, man. That man was
nothing about that relationship that you need.
Yeah, it's too much.
Walk. You gotta walk.
And you know the man is because you can hear the man in there, like, move. Like, what was your plan? What you thought was going to happen when you got through that door, sir? What did you think?
Walk. It's time to walk. If that's who they want to be with, let them go and let them live merrily ever after.
But let go and let God.
That's right. So this interview that you all are about to watch, it's been pre-taped in studio with our girl, Rachel Noerdlinger, who is a guru in public relations, in messaging, and in crisis management. You probably won't get to hear all the good stories about crisis management that she's been involved with, but what you will hear is an authentic story about a woman who's been through many different challenges, and she continued to forge through, and look at where she stands today. You're going to hear from our sister, Rachel Noerdlinger, so check it out. And yet another friend has joined us today on the TMI show. One of our running, not so much jokes, but conversations around here is that our friends
are always on the show, and our friends are always doing really, 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 really amazing things. And Rachel Noerdlinger, who joins us today, is no different. I know Rachel a long time. And I would have to say that this sister has been a major influence in my career. But the beginnings for where you started at the Terry Williams Agency, and even before that, doing work in Africa, and then going on to National Action Network, and now having your own firm, Actim. I mean, it's big. So your little influence, the little influence on me is nothing in comparison to the work that you've done and the people who you've worked with and for. And so we are so excited to have you for the first time as our sister on the TMI show.
Thank you.
Rachel Noerdlinger. I told you, Janice, we need a bell.
Thank you.
So how are you feeling today, Rachel? You look amazing.
I feel fantastic. I feel elated to be with family.
That's good.
And you are right. You have some very, very powerful people in your conglomerate. People that are really defining in a historical context who we are as a country, who we are as people, and representing the needs and values of what's right. So power to you both.
Yeah, I woke up the other morning and Reverend Sharpton called me and I said, "Oh my God, what did I do or who did it?" I was like, "Oh, I knew he was going to give me a good talking to."
He's planning your future, sister. We got plans.
Yeah, but it's good to have our family at NAN. No matter how far we go, National Action Network will always be home to us. Like, we were raised there through the fire, through the land, to the world. It was hard.
It was hard.
It was?
Yeah.
It was rough.
It was real work.
Yeah.
It was real. It's not this new age of, internet justification of work where you just get instant gratification. We had to be in them streets. We had to really have accountability. And we had a boss.
Right. We were challenged. We were challenged. Right. We had a boss that was Rev was tough on us. But it wasn't so much that he was being like tough for just tough sake, but he had to make us tough because what we were up against every day, you couldn't be weak. You can't be a punk. And I always say civil rights and social justice is not for the punks if you're going to do it properly. And when I first met my son, he told me, "Oh no, you don't know anything about the corruption and the challenges of an industry until you're in the hip hop industry and in entertainment." And I remember looking at him and saying, "Come on into this political world."
And what say you now?
It's pretty much a dead even.
It's a dead even?
It's a dead even.
Yeah. It's a dead even, but it's a different even.
It is a different even.
Because one is supposed to be for something great.
Exactly.
Good.
And that's why it really shocks you that you have this level of like deceit and backstabbing and all type of shit.
What we have, but having people that's why Until Freedom, our organization, is so important, because the thing I think I learned from our time at NAN and other experiences that I've been through is that you have to find your people and have one another's back, because that's the only thing that will save you in the end. So speaking of all of that, just talk about let's go to coming from the Terry Williams Agency. Okay. God bless her. You got there. I don't know how you made it into PR. I don't know the answer to that.
It's actually it's an interesting story, because when I graduated from college many years ago, a lot of years ago, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I applied for a fellowship in Gambia, West Africa, for teaching. And so I moved to West Africa for a year.
From where?
I was living in California, in Oakland, where Mills College, which I had just graduated from. And I got this fellowship. I moved to Gambia. I had an amazing experience, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And so I applied to grad school. I got into Columbia University in Harlem, into the grad program. I went about 2 months, and I just wasn't in the mood. It was too much theoretical, abstract knowledge. I wanted to be outside. Somebody showed me a flyer. Back in the day, you have flyers. And it was a flyer recruiting interns for this place called the Terry Williams Agency. Now, I didn't even know what the hell public relations was. But somebody told me that she represented people like Eddie Murphy and Janet Jackson and the film companies, and it just sounded exciting. I literally went the next day and applied for an internship, and I got the internship. I ended up dropping out of grad school. I didn't tell nobody. I didn't even tell
your
my
daddy,
dad.
Peter.
He ended up cutting me off because he wanted me to, in his own words, help the young people. He wanted me to go and be a teacher, and he didn't know what PR was. He was irate. Irate. So, look, I ended up working my way up from intern to vice president over an 8-year period. I worked hard. I worked 7 days a week, all day, every day. But I fell in love with amplifying our narratives, creating stories about us. Like, it was the adrenaline that I got from, like, seeing something and then watching it be on the front page or in the headlines, or, as you know, we'll get to that. But, you know, we were, as you evolved and as I evolved and ascended in PR, it was just a joy to be able to, like, lift us.
Because our stories are not told properly at all.
Yeah.
And you just knew that. Did you know there was a disparity, or you were just excited about telling the stories?
I was excited about telling the stories, but as I got excited about telling the stories and actually tried to, you know, the practitioner of it, I realized they weren't accepting our stories. It was a really hard lift to have to get the mainstream news outlets to cover our stories. They just were not checking for us in any capacity. And so, you know, look, I long hours, lots of sweat. When I left the Terry Williams Agency as vice president after 8 years, I said, let me start my own shop. And my first 2 clients were attorney Johnny Cochran and Reverend Al Sharpton. Attorney Cochran had just won OJ. He was moved to New York because he had a show on the court TV called The Cochran Files.
I remember that.
And my job was to help get him into sort of the New York lifestyle, help him to acclimate, make sure that people knew who he was. And I was his rep on the record on a lot of cases that he started to get into in civil rights. You know, before in California, he wasn't doing as many civil rights cases. When he got to New York, he started doing cases with Reverend Sharpton. He started doing the New Jersey 4, Amadou Diallo, like multiple cases. I believe he was on Diallo at first, too. So I started working with Johnny Cochran and then Reverend Sharpton, who had been a client at the Terry Williams Agency, and he and I just developed this symbiotic relationship that we knew we weren't going to let each other go no time. So I started the firm with them, and
Noerdlinger Media.
Noerdlinger Media.
I worked at Noerdlinger Media.
We met, sister.
I worked at Noerdlinger Media.
This is where we met. Shall we share some stories about that experience?
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, no thanks.
I'd love to hear.
To me, that was one of the most incredibly, like, liberating, exciting, scariest, fun times, because we worked so tirelessly. We were under such immense pressure. It spawned all kinds of emotional trauma and things, because we were dealing with people getting shot every day. We were dealing with, like, real life things. And so as a result, it impacted us emotionally a lot as well.
It did. And I walked up 5 flights of stairs.
I lived in a brownstone in Harlem. It was like a cliff. Like, literally, to get up, you had to, like, walk up a cliff.
Straight.
I used to throw the keys out the window.
That's it. That was how we got in the building.
So you started Noerdlinger Media.
Yes.
And you worked for how long in Noerdlinger Media?
I don't know. I mean, I really worked for National Action Network, but I was the thing is, and this is why you have to read my book, I Live to Tell the Story, because it's all in there. And I was like what some people would consider to be troubled. But it really wasn't me being troubled. It just was a lot in me. So I had to move around from department to department, because everywhere I landed, there was me and it was some drama or something. I didn't get along with people, or I wasn't motivated because I didn't like the area that I was in. I also have always been a big energy person, and there were people that I had to work with that it didn't work out. So really, by the time I get to Noerdlinger Media, I'm on my last straw. Like, Reverend Sharpton is like, you're fired, or you go over there and work with Rachel. And in fact, We want you in the satellite office. We don't even want you to come up in here, because it was just always something. But it was really, when I think back and, after doing all of the self-analysis, what I realized is that there is not a place still to this day that I know of where people notice at 10 that you're a leader and literally raise that. Like, nobody know, you don't know. It's just like you talk too much. You're always complaining, always got an issue. But really, in that little 10-year-old who was struggling, there was this person that I am today. Yeah. And it was hard to Rachel was the one who was like, nah, I see it.
I didn't see any problems in you. I saw, what I always say about you is you were a sponge. You picked things up so expeditiously. Like, you learn, you don't have no
but I picked up the
PR.
bad shit too.
You were a sponge, and you didn't leave the comms department because of drama. You left because you ascended.
I ascended.
You kept ascending and ascending. And, blessings to Rev, because he believed in both of us and believed in your ascension. And you just took off. Yeah. You just took off.
He did. Go.
So, after Nan and Noerdlinger Media, what was the process to get to the next level?
So I ran my company maybe 14 years, and then I got a little call one night on Christmas, the night before Christmas Eve, from then Mayor Bill de Blasio. And he said, I would like to meet with you tomorrow. And I said, tomorrow? It's Christmas Eve. And he said, yeah, but it's really important. Can you come and meet my wife and I in Brooklyn? I'm like, he was very convincing in some kind of way. I landed in Brooklyn the next day.
And she does not travel to other boroughs.
I don't go nowhere unless I'm paid
or there's a tragedy.
So I went to Bar Toto in Brooklyn and met Mayor Bill de Blasio and his wife. And he looked at me and he said, Rachel, I've been watching you for years, and you would make an amazing chief of staff for my wife. I'm like, what does a chief of staff even do? And then I'm like, listen, I've been arrested twice. I got all kinds of drama. My man is a flat felon. And he high-fived me and said, that's the kind of person I want around me. I'm like, okay, well, shoot, you love it, I love it. So I'm like, okay, let me try this. And I ended up going to New York City Hall and becoming the chief of staff for First Lady Charlene McCray. I was never a manager. I did not find joy in working on shaping her schedule and doing those things. What I did love was when I was actually pulled over to the mayor's side when Eric Garner was murdered. Okay. They didn't know how to navigate. Now remember, there was a lot of shit going on around the country. You had Trayvon Martin in 2012. You also had Just Fergus. Things were going on around the country, and they did not want New York City to be that same, uprising, so to speak. And so I was able to really help build a bridge between the mayor's office and the community, and things, there was no uprising, etc. The same thing that Bill de Blasio high-fived me for and said was great ended up being my demise, which was when Eric Garner got murdered. I convened at City Hall with him and others the safety community. We had Bill Bratton, the then police commissioner, come. Reverend Sharpton came. We did sort of it wasn't a town hall, it was a more intimate gathering to talk about what do we do. I sat Reverend Sharpton right by Bill Bratton and right by Mayor de Blasio. And the police did not like that. They couldn't get to Bill de Blasio and they couldn't get to Sharpton, and I was the lowest hanging fruit. So they implemented this entire campaign to basically try to kill me by needle. I took Charlene McCray to Comstat, which is where in New York is the hidden police place where they have millions of cameras of every...
And they know exactly who you are, what you're doing.
Every inch of New York City, there is a camera.
Now they can go to your street.
Every inch of the city. So I took Charlene to Comstat, and that's another no-no. You're not going to take this black woman to
who's just a wife in their mind.
Coveted secret place. No sooner did I leave Comstat, there was a story that was leaked that I was living with a man that many years ago had committed a very serious crime and had run-ins with the legal system for many years as well. And after that story ran, it wouldn't stop. There was even a story that I had an overdue library book at the Edgewater Public Library.
No way.
I kid you not. So I finally said, this ain't for me, and I left. You know, I was like, this is too much scrutiny on my family.
When you left, I'm sure. Like, dang.
I think at the point when I left, everyone was like, this is too much. You know,
right,
this was
right,
before
right,
Donald
right.
Trump. This was when I was literally on the front page, the cover of the New York Post, the cover of the Daily News. Like, media must not have had nothing else to cover. Now mess is just such an everyday part of our lives. In fact, if you date a criminal, it's probably a badge of honor these days because you got one running the country. But anyway, I left. And the day that I left, I got a call from this public affairs firm. Again, I don't even know what a public affairs firm did. But they called me and they're like, we don't like what they did to your family. We would love to meet with you. I was like, what time can I be there? And I ended up...
You was ready to go to work?
My last check at City Hall was 1 week before Christmas. I needed to figure out, I still had to figure bills out. So I was like, okay, I can do this. And I ended up going into this public affairs firm. And I ended up working there for several years and actually became the first black partner, female, ever in the history of this public affairs firm.
DEI, you was DEI.
You was DEI.
That's funny.
I mean, it's crazy.
For real.
Now, you just told a whole story.
You broke down all these qualifications, how you have ascended through every rank, and they would literally say, "This is it is the weirdest, dumbest shit I think."
But it's very intentional to strip you of all that work. And we didn't talk about who Terry.
We did not talk about Terry because she's the
catalyst for all of this for you, a black woman.
In her heyday, Terry Williams was the preeminent, I'm not even going to say black PR practitioner because she ran everything, whether it was film companies, whether it was, I told you she had Reverend Sharpton and Johnny Cochran as clients when I was there. She represented a who's who of what's what. It was messaging, it was communications, it was a lot of crisis management, it was community engagement, it was coalition building, it was all the things. She was a person that believed in the personal touch. She was the kind of person that would send people handwritten notes, calls. Don't skate through life, Rachel. She became my biggest advocate. She was it was boot camp. She was in this ass, like literally every day telling me, don't skate through life. Finish this project tonight. Make sure that you give your best. And she just instilled in me, just the work ethic that I have today.
So you got the job at Mercury,
and then
became a partner.
I became a partner.
And then one day somebody says,
the top earners at Mercury, we said, you know what? We were half of the Mercury was parent company was Omnicom, which is a $1 billion advertising conglomerate. Okay. And we didn't love the marriage, and so the top earners at Mercury, we're like, let's start our own company. And we branched off and started Actum, which is where I am now, and on October 1st, we will be 4 years. We are now among the 10th fastest growing public affairs firms, not in the country, on the globe.
Wow.
Can
I have a job?
Things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need a job.
She said, yep.
I always tell people I need a job, and no one takes it seriously. But I guess when I'm serious, people will be more serious about it. I'm serious. It's hard being an entrepreneur. Let's talk about being an entrepreneur.
That's what it is. Entrepreneur.
Tell us about entrepreneur. Talk about entrepreneurship for you, even with the clients and everything. I've watched the struggles, and I experience it. It is hard. So there's this whole thing online where people are upset with Tabitha Brown because she said your company, your idea is great, your execution may not be that great, but your company is great. You got a wonderful idea or a concept or whatever it is, but you probably need a job. Also, you need a job. People are so upset, and I'm like, I get why folks want to say no. They want to say You got to encourage people instead of discouraging them. But I don't really see it as discouragement when you sleeping in your car.
Yeah, especially when you're the person that's experiencing something, you giving them advice based on your own experience.
And remember how hard it was for us to pay rent?
Oh, please tell me about it. Look, entrepreneurialism is one big risk. You know, unless you have the temperament to deal with risk, it ain't for you. Because there are definitely days when you're not going to know if you have a check coming. There are going to be days when you have to figure out how do I get to this bread? So it is unequivocally not for the weak. But the positive side of this digital age that we're in is that it has been a boost for entrepreneurs, because now anybody can boost their product online. There are so many different conduits now for you to be able to amplify your narrative and your messaging that did not exist before.
Right. When we used
to, wait a minute, Tamika and I used to fax the news desk.
That's right.
I still have memorized in my head all of the fax numbers
number
for all.
one. No.
621-1678 was there.
I don't even know the numbers anymore, but
we used to fax press
it was
releases.
AP was the first, was the number one on the list, and then first. New York One. And remember, we used to try to get everything on New York One,
and we turned it out. We did.
I was on New York One, and that's it. See, but this speaks to my example about having a job while working on your passion. Because even though I was working in the PR, and remember, I started my little Mallory Consulting as well, so that I could do projects. But I was also on TV. I was talking about the issues. I was still working with Nan and taking other clients on the side. You gotta hustle and flow.
And that's, I think, why you've been so successful, is because you from the hustle and flow. Like, you are from Harlem, New York City, where the hustlers reside. You had from day one ingrained in you, even though your parents are the blackest, most liberated human beings I know, you also really, really had folks around you that really were from the streets. Like, it just is what it is. And I always admired that about you. Like, I always actually... Jealousy is not the right word. I craved what you had with your family.
My family. A lot of people feel that way.
So embedded in your life. They were just such a fixture. And I always and what I really loved too was your life was not devoid of spirituality. You had the activism. You had God. You had all the things.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is something I definitely want around me.
Well, what was your upbringing like?
Lord have mercy. I was raised by some white folks. I was adopted at age 1. I was given up at birth. Was adopted, a white couple in New Mexico, Peter and Janelle Noerdlinger. Father was an astrophysicist. Mother was a artist, very hippie flippy. They wanted, 1970 was when they adopted me. 1971, I was born in 70. We had just kind of come out of the civil rights movement, where white people had all this white guilt and felt like they could save humanity. And so I think the reasons my parents adopted us were the right ones. I had a black brother, Fred, who was also adopted. They wanted to show us a better life, and they wanted to show America that we too could live as one. The challenge with that is my hippie-ass flippy parents tried to raise us in a colorblind environment. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a little black girl. And so my color was robbed of me in this home. I never had exposure. We lived in the most upper class, whitest neighborhoods. I had really minimal exposure to black folks until honest to God, I didn't even date a black man until I did in high school, but he was also raised by white parents. So I didn't date a black man until I was in college. And you know what they say.
Once you go black,
you never go back.
And that was it. That was it.
That was a wrap.
Yeah, and then your mom.
And my mom, amazing human, phenomenal artist, but struggled with a lot of mental health issues. When I was in high school, I was 15. We were living in Los Angeles, California. And I had just gone on a European soccer tour. I was a really big athlete. I had just gone on a month-long European soccer tour. My mother dropped me off to go on the tour, took me to the airport, and then was scheduled to pick me up a month later. She didn't show up to pick me up. And something just felt wrong. I'm like, why is she not here? Like, something just didn't feel right. And I remember waiting and waiting and waiting. And after waiting for hours and hours and hours, I got this feeling in, like, the gut that something was really wrong. And I called home, and my dad answered the phone, and he said, they found your mom's body. I'm like, what do you mean? I cursed him out. I'm like, what the fuck you mean they found her body? Stop playing. I cursed. No, her body was washed ashore at Huntington Beach. She took a bottle of pills, drank a 6-pack, and just walked into the ocean.
Wow.
As a 15-year-old, the guilt. First of all, I'm thinking, okay, she didn't want to see me that bad. Like,
Dang.
God damn, lady. Like,
That happened the same day?
Yes.
Oh.
She was literally supposed to pick me up. Instead walked into the ocean. So for years, I carried a lot of that guilt.
Damn. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's deep.
Yeah.
That it was like,
I struggled with
you
that
could have
for
did this any other
years.
day. You decided to do it on the day you was picking me up.
I
So was it for a me? Did I have something to do with it?
Yeah.
That's heavy.
It was heavy.
Wow.
Heavy. Yeah.
That's really heavy.
So, but you know, look, mental health is a real thing, and for white people that have, you know, my parents had a lot of resources. What others go through that have no resources is just, we're in a place right now. We're in a dark place in society. We really are.
Well, before you go to the dark place in society, because there's so much to be said about that, then we had these boys that we were raising while trying to raise ourselves. Being raised and raising children at the same time.
Yeah.
And we always say that it was, you know, it was very challenging to keep a steady hand on them while also being like not just career driven but passion. Like, it was a purpose to the work that we did.
Yeah.
And yet you find out that the purpose really was more, it should have been more about them than anything else.
Yeah.
And that's the lesson for us. I know it's the lesson for me. I tell other people all the time that I see they're working, and what they're doing is good. They're not in the club. We weren't in the club. We didn't even go. Every now and then we went out. But if it was a work event, that was the only time that we got a chance to like enjoy ourselves, because we worked Saturday morning early. 8, 7 o'clock, 7:30, something like that. We had to be at work. And so Friday night is a dub, except when I was stumbled.
Every damn day. Because every day Reverend Alfred Charles Sharpton was
had
having a press conference.
Something was going on.
Every day.
Sundays, whether it was church, I went to Richardson's church. Something was always happening. And we were busy. So we weren't clubbing, we weren't hanging out. And I see other people like that, especially entrepreneurs. It's not that they're hanging out or, you know, blowing off their children, but they're so career focused that they don't have the ability to balance it all, which I don't really know that balance exists. And as a result, the children suffer. And so then the question isn't even about balance. It's like that's why I don't believe people should have children before they're able to get their careers really like off the ground, because it's not the children's fault.
It's not fair to them.
But it's also, you need to do what your career is important.
Yeah.
So how, like, now looking back and now having a grandson, I have my granddaughter, my son has a grandson.
Yes.
What would you say to this idea of careers, children? What would you say, and what are you encouraging Kari? He's been my baby his whole life.
And he loves you. Look, if I could change anything, I would change that I was an absentee parent. I might have been there physically a lot too, because I worked from home.
We were physically there,
but emotionally I was gone. And so he gravitated to the streets. I mean, I lived in Harlem, so he naturally was raised outside while I was outside doing other things. If I could change anything in my life, I would have changed being much more present. And, you can't make up for lost time. It took years, the trauma that ensued from just me making those early decisions, what it led my son for years and years and years, caused a lot of pain, a lot of anger. We're now extremely close. He's forgiven me and I've forgiven him for some dumb shit he did along the way. But I would tell people that you have to have a work-life balance. And look, that sounds not even attainable because we're in such an economic place where people are literally not even able to eat. But you have to find a way to have a work-life balance.
When you have children.
You have to. It's
even for yourself.
Yeah.
Because I just like I am apologetic to my child for being an absentee parent at times with him.
Yeah.
I actually also have to apologize to myself because I was an absentee to me.
That's mature.
Right? Like I wasn't, I let me get lost, which led me to you having to take me to rehab because I was my foundation was very shaky, and this is with having family and having all the things.
And we were the sole providers.
I was
the single parent that had to provide for everything.
And money, running to the schools, to this and that. It's
and a young
tough.
Black man needs his father.
Oh
Just
man.
period.
Oh man.
Just period.
Oh man.
It's a thing.
Yes, it is. It is. So the country is burning it's going to shit. I truly do think America is in the midst of its demise.
Yeah, I think it's the pre-stages of a revolution, quite frankly. If you study history or other places where there have actually been revolutions, this was the precursor. Like what we are doing now, we're the pre-stages of a revolution. And look, some stuff we may have to start over and rebuild. The rate we're going, we may have to. I'm not encouraging us to form a revolution per se. I think we can find other ways to revolutionize. But I think we are there where we have to make some real decisions about our path forward. What are we going to do as a community? Can we get out of these chat rooms? I'm in 900 Signal, WhatsApp, chats where people are just philosophizing about what can we do. Take your ass outside and get to these streets, get to these young folks, get to the people, organize. The stuff that you guys do every day at Until Freedom, the stuff that man has done every day for years, is being outside and being a bridge to the community. But, folks right now are lost. It's a really scary place. I would like to say we only have maybe less than, I don't know. The man's probably going to rewrite the Constitution and be the president again. Who knows? But it's not forever. We have the midterms coming up. I mean, there are still things that we can do to try to get our power back. But we're in a bad place.
We're in a bad place when there's an attack on free speech and there's an amplification of hate speech.
Yes.
Right? And people can't even tell the difference between the two. When your opinion of me can lead to someone else thinking that I don't deserve to live, or I don't deserve to have agency, or I'm not even human.
Yeah.
When you have that type of voice and you can utilize it to do that, and it's protected by free speech, and me saying that that's not okay is not protected by free speech. It's like a matrix.
It's only protected if it's not coming from us. If it's coming from us, it ain't free speech. It's you gonna get blocked. You're going to get shut down.
I've been there. I know.
They're going to exile you from mainstream America if you have free speech. And that's why it's like it's contingent upon, and it's really incumbent upon us to find a way to communicate and amplify our narratives in a way that still gets done what we need to do.
Still gets done what we need to do.
Lord have mercy.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, I'm with you. We've been through so many different iterations of this thing, right? Like we've been on this ride for a minute, so we know all. We what I think.
My mate.
Right.
Lord have mercy.
What I think is that.
Lord have mercy.
We've been warning people about all of this for a long time, right? part of our, and you and I and my son, who's been on this journey now for 10 years of his life, a full solid decade, he has been in this struggle. People who are walking around and were walking around oblivious to what's happening. Everybody just want to get money. Everybody just wants to have access. Those people do not even know what they've done by ignoring the writing on the wall. Yeah. We've been in it knowing that we had to fight and struggle and fight and struggle. And they looked at us like we were crazy. How many times have you heard people say, oh my God, get a real job?
Yeah, all the time.
Do something else. Like, why do you keep, and sometimes I ask myself that, quietly, like, are you crazy? Like, you're a glutton for punishment, sis.
But now they've taken those real jobs because DEI is gone. So those
something we
real
fought
jobs
for
are gone. Yeah.
We make jokes about it. We made a joke about it. But how does it make you feel knowing that you are a highly educated woman, highly qualified woman, and you watch other qualified, educated black women get this DEI high, knowing in the back of somebody's mind that they would say the same thing about you? Like, what does that make you feel?
Look, having been raised in a white home and being around a lot of the white experience, I've been hearing that rhetoric since I was a baby. I've seen that since I was a child. And, you have to have a really, tough veneer to be able to withstand a lot of the tomfoolery that these people perpetuate. It ain't easy. It is not easy. But, as you two do every single day, the solution is obviously not to give up. I think we're in a moment where we have to embrace fear and have to really, be uncomfortable. A lot of people just don't want to be uncomfortable. And I think we're in the most uncomfortable time we may be in our lives. And if we can really move in this discomfort, we can do anything.
I suggest that people who are listening to us would go and read Dr. King's sermon, The Mastery of Fear. The Mastery of Fear. Because I use it a lot to talk about what the premise of it was. That he was saying, I'm not telling you I'm not fearful. I'm not telling you that fear doesn't exist. Fear is a real emotion. But we have to use fear as fuel.
Right. That's right.
You got to take that fear and let it be your guide that helps you so that you can fight, right? Because when you're afraid, you do something. Somebody come at you, you're going to try your best to get out, whether it's to run or fight back or whatever it is. And what he's saying is, stop trying to make fear like a weakness.
Boom. I think what Dr. King was also saying is there's a negative fear and there's a positive fear. The negative fear is an implosion. It implodes inside.
It makes you stagnant.
A positive fear is an explosion. It causes you to go outside and get it done.
That's right. It's like I feel that way when people introduce me and they say she's fearless. I often come behind them and say that is not the case. It has been very, very scary to be in our homes and at 6:00 in the morning the FBI comes and knocks on all of our doors to ask us questions about whatever they want, whatever thing they were just trying to scare us. This is many years ago. Now that's people, y'all, where you come from.
There was an article in the New York Post and the headline was Rev Al's Gal.
Yes,
remember that?
That's right.
Because they had just raided our homes and many other staff.
That's right.
At the 6 a.m. in the morning, looking for mess on Rev that never didn't out
even
to be a damn thing.
It wasn't anything. I don't even know where this whole investigation went. And they went talking about gals and guys. They were really trying to shake people down around him to turn them. I mean, it was some painful stuff. That was scary. The things that I went through, dealing with the Women's March and the fallout there, that stuff was scary, not having food to eat because these people were able to cut off my lifeline, and they are doing it again. And this is where I have a sense of resentment at times last week we interviewed Lanny Smith, who's the owner of Actively Black.
They did a thing.
Oh, please. What is athleisure, premium athleisure brand?
Yes.
Beautiful.
And he said that because he got emotional when he came out to do his speech at the end. And he was like, y'all don't know what I've been through. People you thought would have supported me, they didn't. And he said he had to stop, which he did. He paused and he almost cried. And in the interview, he told us that he had to stop talking because he didn't want to use that platform, that moment, to like call out all the people that did him wrong. And I was saying, that's me, right? Because there's a resentment in me that says, when these people were after me, right? When they were cutting off my livelihood, shutting down, everything, making me out to be just the worst person in the world. That's all I can say. You know what they did. You were there every single day, crying, writing, trying to defend me. If we would have fought back then, maybe we wouldn't be at the point now where they can just fire you for posting somebody else's words.
Facts.
And in fact, some of the people who are being attacked in this moment were part of attacking me.
Well, karma, because I've seen people that now lost their jobs.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. And I'm not saying any of it is right, and we still have to stand together because we black out here.
We just got to had to understand the reality of what we are dealing with.
Yeah.
And we knew it was coming.
That's right.
And I think that's what it is for me. It's like the disappointment of watching this moment. And there's still people that don't even know there is a moment, right? Because I was having this conversation yesterday with a bunch of dudes, and I'm explaining to them stuff, and they looking at me like, I'm like, you don't know that that's happening? Like, nah. But we could tell something is going on, but I don't know what it is. So they don't really realize what's going on. And just knowing that we foresaw this moment happening and seeing us in it and getting deeper and deeper, like, it's really like, I don't even know what it is.
It's fishbowl. You feel like you're in the fishbowl. And so even the black folks who are dealing with the onslaught of this moment that I don't even fuck with, right? Like, fuck them as far as I'm concerned. But I can't even stand in that because the pendulum swings back and forth, back and forth. So I can sit here all I want and say, John did this to me and I don't like John and because he said this. We was talking about that last week. Oh, I don't like Isaac Hayes at fan base. And then the Actively Black guy, he looked at me wrong and I don't like the way we don't even have time for that. We don't even have time for it because if we don't come together as much as we can, and what scares me is that there's some black people that don't know we need to come together. And that is a scary thought because we are only going to be as strong as our weakest links. And if our people are not aware of the crisis that we're in, we're going to be in more trouble. We are in real serious trouble. When you have, God rest Hazel Duke's soul, that she left here and did not have to deal with what we see. If you don't know Hazel Dukes, please look her up. She's a civil rights icon. But as this whole thing was coming to be and the election was happening and it was clear that Trump, not clear that he was going to win, but he was a problem again with Kamala Harris. I remember Hazel saying to me one day, this is not the same as anything else we've ever been through because we knew we were in a fight before. Y'all are not really clear.
It's like the analogy that they have. If you put a frog inside a boiling pot, it'll boil itself to death if you put it at a certain degree, and you won't even know that you being boiled to death. Like he will literally sit inside the water until he's dead. And that's the moment we're in. We're in a slow pressure cooker.
Yikes.
That's slowly pressure cooking us, and people don't even realize. Like they're literally just taking away things slowly but surely. And people who aren't, and when you in the communities we come from, you don't really just see it blatantly because you're just still outside. You probably hustling, doing this and that. You start realizing, well, nobody got no money no more. So, but you know, these laws, I ain't really, because I'm not inside of that
right.
circle. So
you selling drugs
and
can't sell them.
Yeah, you just like,
and now the block is hot. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's how it happens. Wow. That's when you know, when the drug dealers can't sell drugs, when the scammers can't scam because it ain't no money nowhere, then that's when you start seeing now is more shootings, is more
and we've been trying to tell you
way before that all of this trickle down economics. Like y'all in the last level of the trickle down economics. Right. So you don't realize it. By the time it get to you, it's so fucked up that it might not even be redeemable. Yeah. It's nothing because it's nothing else. Yeah. They've already anticipated. They built up the police, the National Guard. They got all this shit
the NRA
because they know that eventually y'all gonna be starving and we gonna be able to lock y'all up and kill y'all and do what we gotta do. So we're preparing. We're fully preparing. By the time it gets to y'all down here, we done already locked everything out. Your mother ain't got no job. We done fired her from the federal. Nobody can help you. The judges we overturning anything that don't look like. So it's really serious.
Yeah, I you know, to go back to Reverend Sharpton, when we sat with him a couple of weeks ago, in fact, I think you may have gone to the bathroom or something, and he and I were just sitting there doodling, talking in the room, and he looked at me and said, "We're in a real serious moment." But it was the way that he looked in my eyes, like something that I may have seen when I was younger, when things were really serious. He was like, he told me, "I know these people. This is real serious."
I have not seen him this concerned.
It's serious, as he should be. Well, thank you, Rachel.
Yes.
That was so good.
This was fun.
I got to learn. That's why we didn't respond to you when you were like, well, that's true. But you go on all the big shows. So, you know. But when you asked what we were going to talk about, I'm like, we're going to just talk. That's it.
Was good. I felt free.
Thank you. I appreciate you for coming down here, my sister.
Rachel Noerdlinger.
Thank you.
The PR strategist extraordinaire. Yes.
She knows all the stuff.
Thank you for joining the TMI show.
Shout out to our sister Rachel Noerdlinger. That was an amazing interview. It's always good energy when we interviewing our friends and we know how powerful they are. Just hearing some of y'all stories and knowing some of the stories that y'all didn't tell on screen. Just you've been through so much together, man. And just to see both of you in different stages of your life, you're excelling and her being this big PR person, one of the biggest,
biggest.
The biggest.
The largest.
Exactly. And just seeing her continue to grow and I just listen to her story. Right? I never knew, the story about her mom. Like that was like really.
But I learned things too. Like certain things I didn't know. So it's like, that's why you sit down and you talk to your friends. That's why you got your own podcast.
And we can get the information. But shout out to Rachel for her amazing interview. Just make sure you follow Rachel Noerdlinger. She's doing big things. Now for my I don't get it. Now there's been a lot going on online. And online is it's so crazy to me, right? Because I'm from a different era. And maybe I'm old school, old fashioned. It could be a lot of things. But it's just certain things that we did not talk about in front of cameras. There's certain ways we didn't deal with each other in front of cameras. There were certain unwritten rules and things that you didn't do. And in this era, those rules have been completely erased, and for what they call clouts or clicks to get into the algorithm, there is a method and a strategy that's being used that is just cringeworthy to me, right? I'm watching people that I have known, people I have respect with, some I have real personal relationships, some I'm just cordial with, but we've had communication with. I'm watching people do things that are shocking to me, and it's actually disheartening. I'm watching people say and do things that I think devalues them, just in my views, and from a lot of people that we know, coming from the same places. And I'm just watching, and it's been confusing. And the latest, is this situation with Cameron and Dame Dash. Now, I know both of them. You know what I'm saying? Me and Cam know each other for years. Me and Dame are cordial. We spoke, I appreciate what Dame has offered to hip hop. You can't really take away nothing that he's offered. You know, I've been around this industry, like inside this industry since 1998, you know, but I was always a fan of music. But from the outside, from when Jay-Z first started and you seeing him and Dame move, and then being on the inside and having intricate, shout out to my brother Bob Bilal, God bless the dead, who was like a big brother to me, who was down with Best Out, who was close with Dame and Jay-Z. You know, I had a little more insight. Shout out to Tone from Original Flavor, who I grew up with. Like, I had a lot more insight into the industry and just the business that they were doing. You know, so I always respected Dame. And I'm watching this situation with him and Cam. I'm watching him beefing with 50 Cent. I'm watching him beef with who else is he beef with? Charlamagne. I watched The Breakfast Club, and it's actually disheartening to me. You know, I feel, you know, that what are we gaining from this? Right? I watched a man who literally built one of the biggest record labels in the world, now going back and forth arguing on the internet with everybody. You know, and not saying he's right or wrong, but how did he gain from this? Like, I don't understand. I feel like it's diminishing what he actually accomplished, but it's getting him in the algorithm, right? Every time you see an interview, it's 1 million views, it's 2 million views. Is it really worth it? Are those views worth what the level of mystique and prestige that you actually attained in this industry? Are you going to get the monetary value that is going to equate to what you've already established as a man and as an entrepreneur within this industry? I don't see it happening. I'm not saying he's at fault. I'm just saying Dame is the oldest person in all of these rooms. When you having this conversation with Charlamagne, you're older than Charlamagne. When you having this conversation with Cam, you older than them. These people looked up to you. Cam was somebody that you came, that was underneath you, that you helped. So when you diminish it to this, and now I hear that there's also a lawsuit that he just filed against Cam for $300 million, and we talking about defamation of character and all these things. And I'm saying that's what y'all want to do, but I'm watching everybody defame each other. I'm watching everybody disrespect each other. I watched him call Charlamagne all kinds of names, and you know, there was a lot of criticism about that, and I heard people say, oh, you know, they disrespected Dame, but I watched Dame give as good as he got. You know, I've watched Dame go on different platforms and say things about people that I'd be like, damn, why would he say that? And didn't agree, but everybody has their personal issue. I'm just saying, as a fan, as somebody watching from the outside, as somebody who knows Dame, who sat and talked to Dame, like we really sat and talked about music, we talked about business, we talked about my book, like he's supported. Somebody watching Dame from the outside that doesn't have any ill will, ill feelings from him, I just don't like this for him. I'm not okay seeing him in this manner, you know, and I know it's a lot of people that we know in comment, and I want somebody to say that. I want them to say, Dame, I don't know how much money you're gonna make from this, right? But I don't think that it's worth what you're sacrificing right now. I don't think the level of character and prestige that you've had throughout your life, even though when you was going with the back and forth shit with Jay-Z, that was some personal shit, whatever it was, y'all was best friends, people can't really judge that, right? Nobody can really get involved. We can have our opinions, this and that. But I think at this point, it's really just trolling and internet, and you should be above that. Like, I get it from the youth. I get it from the 20-year-olds. I get it from that. You should be above that. I really believe that you are above that. You are someone that we recognize as an icon and a pillar within the hip hop community. And I don't like the way he's being viewed right now. I don't like the conversations people are having about him, because I have respect and love for Dame. You know what I'm saying? And I hate to see him and Cam even doing this. You know, when these people were both came up where you, like he said, Dame helped him throughout his career. I think I'm telling Cam, at some point this got to just stop. Just leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? This is a OG, right? And at some point, it can't just be about views and click and algorithm. It got to be more than that. Like, we got to be worth more than that. We, as men, Our legacies can't be that we were stand-up dudes in the street, that we were stand-up dudes in the industry, and we paved our way. And then when the internet came, we started disrespecting each other and devaluing ourselves and saying shit and looking less than we were supposed to be as men. That can't be our legacy. It just can't. It can't be where we've got. I hear too many men that I've respected and I looked up to and all types of things get on this internet and say, you know, I'm just trying to get, this is just content. And it's just for the algorithm. And that shit is disheartening to me. It's really disheartening to know that men have come to a stage in their lives that this internet is going to take away from your legacy. And I just don't get it.
There's that. I have nothing to add. I think you said it all.
So that brings us to the end of another episode. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at TMI_show and then at TMI Show PC on YouTube. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us. We love you. Continue to make us the #1 podcast in the world. I'm not going to always be right. Tamika D is not going to always be wrong, but we will both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.